And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Jeremy. Thanks for coming on here and talking to me.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure to hop on and talk paranormal with anybody.
Yeah. Would you like to let the audience know a little bit about yourself before we dive into it?
Sure. I am the host of Paranormal the New Normal, going, I don't know how many episodes it's long, but it's been 3 years, so it's a lot of episodes at this point. And I'm also the co-host of Maniacal Music Musings, which just topped 100 episodes a couple months ago. So
Nice.
check out both of them. They're fun shows to listen to, I've been told.
Nice. You reached out to me a while back, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle. I got like a huge influx of people emailing me, and I thought I responded back, and I reached back out to you. I was like, we ever set something up? And no. So my apologies to that one, but glad to have you come on here tonight. Before we get into it, like, is there anything specifically as to why you are interested in the things you're interested in? Like, what drew you to the paranormal?
So yeah, I mean, childhood fascination basically led me down the road to the paranormal. It just wanted to know about things that science couldn't exactly prove, and from there it just grew and waned and grew and waned all throughout my life until other paranormal podcasts out there like mine all of a sudden sparked my interest yet again in paranormal podcasting and and paranormal. And when it was time for me to start my own podcast, after leaving a group podcast, I just said, like, what do I know? And I'm like, I know paranormal. I've heard enough firsthand experiences on podcasts and in books and online and everything else that I can form my own damn theories, and sure, people are going to love them. And I wasn't wrong. So it kind of worked.
Yeah, it's kind of, I always feel like something happens with somebody that it triggers them to go down the pathway they go into, like, especially when it comes to podcasting, because rarely does someone not have something of interest and they just start doing like paranormal activity stuff or any type of weird sort of podcast. Like, I always feel like someone has to have something that pushes them in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something. And I mean, I joined another podcast that was pop culture related, nothing to do with paranormal. And, you know, when it was just like, what do I know? I'm like, I know movies, but there's too many of those already. I know TV shows, there's too many of those already. I'm like, there's a lot of paranormal podcasts, but I think I should compete in that realm. So let me go for it.
Mm. Well, if you want to start from the beginning and go right on into it.
Beginning of what exactly?
The concept of what I do on my show is like the experiences you've had.
Okay. Well, I am one of those paranormal lovers who has not experienced too much, who, you know, those who want to see don't see. But I basically had no paranormal experiences until I reached my late 20s. I bought the house I live in now in 2021, and basically when we moved in, I had family up here helping me fix things up, and they were staying the night at the house. I was staying the night at the place I was already staying, just because why not? I actually had a bed sleeping, so why sleep on the floor? I know I'm a dick. I know that, but basically, the next day I came back to the house, and they're like, some crazy shit happened here last night. I'm like, what do you mean? And I mean, foggy figures coming out of the bathroom when you're walking in. just weird noises and sounds all night. And, fast forward about 3 months later, by that point, there's been more and more activity going on, seeing things, shadow people, all that good stuff. And we got I found some paranormal investigators on Facebook to come into the house. Or maybe it was Google, but I found paranormal investigators to come into the house, local ones, and they spent a good couple hours going around with the meters and everything else. And turns out there are spirits here. I would find out a lot more detail on that over the next 3 years and on my podcast with mediums and psychics and all that. But that night, the only thing I really found out is that it was the husband and wife who originally owned the house and built it, and that they were just here because we have kids and they never had kids, so they like to watch the kids. Or at least I think that's the wife. I think the husband's just really attached to the house and his garage and his carport. But basically, my creepiest experience ever was that night, though. The investigators and I were in my son's room, and they were asking questions of the spirit that was in there. And all of a sudden, I got the creepiest chills up my back as I'm talking about like all the different improvements I've done in the house since I bought it. And when I asked, they're like, ask the spirit something. I'm like, all right. I'm like, do you like everything I've done to the house since I bought it? And I just hear the creepiest noise in my ear. It's like the tiniest whisper of a thank you. And they started snapping pictures of me at that point. And in the pictures, which I gotta find those pictures. I keep saying that for every podcast I'm on. I gotta find those pictures. But in one of the pictures, in between my arm and my stomach, you can kind of see a face in between my arm and my stomach in the pictures. Some people see it, some people don't, but you can kind of see a face. At least I can. And I had the biggest chills going down my back at that point. So I feel like that was my closest encounter with a spirit ever. Like it had to be. I never had that kind of primal, not fear, but primal sense of something's not right going through my body.
Right.
So there's more, but I mean, that was definitely the creepiest moment. We also had chickens and guinea hens in our back of our garage. And all of a sudden we started having chickens just keep dying, and we couldn't figure out why. Like, we thought the guinea hens were possibly killing them, pushing them off the rafters, and they just couldn't get their wings in time. Because it looked like they were flattened. Like, it really did. Or like they had a long fall and hurt themselves. But we got rid of the guinea hens, and chickens are still dying. So we couldn't figure it out. Eventually, we moved the chickens out of the garage into a shed turned coop. And they stopped dying all of a sudden. At that point, nothing else is happening. And come to find out, with a medium on my podcast later, they were talking to the spirits in my house while they were on my show. And I guess Rowley, the guy who originally built the house, said chickens don't belong in the house. And I mean, it's funny because the EVP, when they were here, it kept picking up the word jungle. The spirit box, it kept picking up the word jungle. So
because of the animals.
I don't know if he was referring to the chickens as like being in a jungle, or if that's what he was trying to like portray. I don't really get how spirit boxes work 100%, so I'm not going to lie about that. But it's just all weird coincidences that kind of happen, and they make sense when a medium explains it.
I think spirit boxes, for me, it's strange in the sense that you just hear a bunch of random frequency, like, and it's so quick you just hear bits and pieces, but then every once in a while it does pick out a word. So is it actually picking out a word from what these things are supposedly saying, or is it just randomly it's the one thing we end up hearing because it's something we're trying to hear?
I mean, or is it just like a radio station, like glimpse that they pick up on, like out off the wires or something, like near your house? Like I don't know.
I don't know who invented the spirit box, but hopefully they patent it, because that's the one thing that seems to be the top of the paranormal world right now, is a lot of people using these spirit boxes and getting all these answers to things. And I would be afraid to try and do one around my own house, because then I'd start getting paranoid if it started saying some shit to me that I didn't want to hear about.
Yeah, it's definitely creepy. And I mean, and he definitely likes his garage, and that's definitely what part of the chickens was. Cause I mean, like we put our dog in the back of the garage at one point because we were try to find a place in the house to like really keep her crate so she could sleep it like at night and not destroy the house. And we put it in the back of the garage one night, and about hour later, when she finally calmed down, stopped barking, we thought she like fell asleep, got used to it, whatever. And the next thing you know, she's yelping like something's attacking her. And I go out there and open her crate, and she runs in the house faster than I've ever seen that puppy run in my life. And I mean, something in the back of that garage had to be creeping her out. It had to be like taunting her or harassing her. It's there's just, and I used to podcast out in the garage too for a while, like last summer and last for like a good 6 months. I was out there from like the end of winter to summer, and tell you, I'd be out there this time of night some nights and just sitting by the garage door, which is in the front of the house, like where I am now, kind of, and I'd be looking into the back of the garage the whole time, and just you get the creepiest freaking feeling, and you feel like you're being watched, and it's not a pleasant feeling. I mean, we even, at the behest of my Reiki master I worked with at that point, we didn't sage, but a similar thing. I forget what the heck she called it, but a similar thing we did to the house. My wife did to the house while I was at work one day, and that night I was podcasting out there, and the guest was a medium of some kind or a clairvoyant, and she was just like, "There's a lot of spirits right now just walking around behind you, looking like they're stoned." And I'm like, I explained what we did that day, and she's like, "Oh," she's like, "That explains it." She's like, "Yeah, they're just walking around like they're zombies in The Walking Dead." I'm like, "All right, well that's something." I'm like, I guess from what I've been told, the most recent not Joseph Leonard, that's way older, I guess. I forget his name. I just had him on the show. It's actually funny because he was my version of what ended up happening to us, because like I was supposed to have him on back in 23 and it just never happened. And a year later, he messaged me again on another platform, and I was like, "Were we supposed to record at one point?" It was like a year later. We were supposed to record like a year earlier. It just never happened. Got lost in the shuffle of everything. And he's like, he told me the show. He's like, "Yeah, you have a male ghost, a female ghost, and 2 dog ghosts in your house." And I was like, that makes sense. The original owner had a dog, and we had a puppy that died at 14, 17 weeks old, something like that, due to a kidney problem that I was born with. So it made sense to me. 2 dogs and 2 human ghosts in my house.
How old is your house?
It was built in 64, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, for Massachusetts, not super old, but still, I mean, just everything, all the spirits that are here, we know their backstory. We know where they're from. It's not like some of the houses in, like, the SK Pierce Mansion that's in my town is been around for hundreds of years, and nobody knows all the backstories of the spirits that are in that house. It's an attraction. It's just a haunted attraction at this point. But my house, I mean, at least everything can be explained. I like that kind of. It doesn't. I live without fear because of that, because I know what's in my house. At least I think I do.
I keep seeing, I can tell what it is. It's a flag behind you through the window. But when you first started talking, I could see movement, and you're talking about the spirit. I was like, I wonder if, I was like, okay, now I can tell what it was. I just seen the corner from the flag. Yeah. But with that storm system going through the country right now, it's very windy here again. So the flag out in the pole is going like crazy. Yeah, it's blowing pretty bad out here, but I've tried to soundproof this area as much as I can. It's not as good as it needs to be, but it kind of does what it's supposed to do. So for the most part, I don't think it gets picked up. But it's pretty damn windy out here. Yeah, no, it's starting getting windy again tonight. It wasn't that bad. Like the weekend was actually decent, but that basically, for the most part, surmise. Well, it's actually funny because my Reiki master also told me that she sensed something very dark in my house. She didn't want to say anything about it, but I happened to say on one of our sessions, I'm like, I think there's something like darker in my house. My wife saw something, and she's like, I didn't want to say anything, but she's like, I have sensed a couple times that there's something really dark in your house. And I was like, but yet no other mediums or psychic I have in my shows ever picks it up, but they pick up the spirits. They'll pick up the evil thing. I don't quite understand what it could be. I mean,
it was grayish, blackish in color. My wife said. So I don't know if it's a shadow person or a wraith of some kind, or I don't think it's a demon. I've been told. I mean, she said she didn't think it was a demon when she was talking to me about it, but I mean, it's something I really don't know what it is. Maybe just a bad spirit, but I mean, I've been told my house is like a rest stop for spirits, kind of like that are traveling. Like they like to stop in my house for a little bit and leave. But
Were you doing your podcast before you moved in, or was it after you started?
I didn't start podcasting at all until like a month after I moved in this house, just because that's the way things lined up.
I know that the audience don't want to hear this again, but basically I was told that doing this podcasts like this sometimes brings in
You're inviting in the energy.
Yeah. So
I've been told that, and I don't know. I mean, my wife also comes from a very haunted house in the Bridgewater Triangle, so we might have brought things up here from her. Every time we go visit her house, the house down there, we might go bring things. We might be bringing something back with us. Who knows? It's possible, but it's. I mean, it's my life now, and I don't live in fear of it. Nothing scares me about it. It's just how life is at this point, and I'm not going to be scared of it. I'm not going to let it control me. Like they're not poltergeists by any damn means. They're not slamming cabinet doors. They're not throwing things all around the counters. Like, no, they just are kind of non-living roommates. Best way to put it.
I've built this. Well, I didn't build it. I built the inside. What I'm in is one of those lofted barns, little cabins or whatever they have, like sheds. It's got a front porch on it, and I enclosed everything on the inside of it. Behind me used to be the two big doors, and I closed it off, and I tried to make it into the recording studio. So anything that I have, it's not in my house anymore. So I'm trying to contain whatever this is because we're not attached to the house. It's like its own little thing. So my thought process was, if I'm inviting things in, then they're contained out here. If that's how it works, I don't know how any of that stuff actually works or not, but that was my idea, is to try and trap it here.
Yeah, I don't really know how any of it works either. I have my theories, but like, I mean, I believe for the longest time the old supernatural lore of they can only haunt where they died. Like that was my thing, is they can only haunt where they died. And I mean, no, I found out that's not true. But eventually, after enough people tell me it's not true, like I believed it. That's a fiction. Ghosts don't have to stay anywhere they don't want to. They can go anywhere they want to most of the times, unless they're bound somewhere, I guess, by some force. There's a lot of different ways that could happen, I guess, but I am not 100% a ghost encyclopedia, so no. I don't know all the answers to this stuff.
Yeah, for me, I think it's personally weird to think that they're bound to anything, but some people say, oh, they're bound to they're haunting your property. I was like, why are they bound to like imaginary lines? Like, if they're stuck to like your property, who's to say that the next spot over 5 feet, that means if I step over into the other side of the road, they can't follow me because it's not my property anymore? Like, I don't understand how any of that works.
I mean, I think they are bound sometimes by agreements they made in life. I think they are bound sometimes by live humans, whether it be some kind of voodoo, white magic, black magic, what have you. There's got to be ways they have of bounding things, I'm sure. So, I mean, there's different ways.
Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of weird stuff out there that I don't really know how to take some of it, because I try and remain skeptical a lot of the time. So for me, I don't want to jump down the rabbit hole of everything's paranormal, everything's a ghost, everything's a demon, everything's this and that. I try and look for the rational explanations, but at the same time, it's hard to do that when some of the things that you can find or something happens, there's no explanations for.
I started my podcast with literally the idea for me starting my podcast was, okay, everybody that tells me an experience, I'm going to try to play the skeptic on it. And that's what I'm going to do in this podcast. I'm going to try to be a skeptic on every experience somebody tells me. About 20 episodes in, I stopped trying because it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. A couple of them, yeah, sure, I had questions that maybe made it seem more believable. But after a while, I'm just like, I don't even know what to ask. I'm like, nothing you said makes sense. So it's not, I can't prove it to be anything else. Like, so it just, there's nothing, when something is unexplainable, you have to go with the most logical answer, even if that's unbelievable. So it's science. It's science in a way. And that's, I would go through the freaking, what do we call it? The hypothetical laws, or what are they called? It's been a while, but that's cool.
Yeah, I know what you're meaning. It's hard to explain to people that don't have experiences, though, and convince them of something. Like, for me, not having any sort of an experience, I would not believe 99% of the stuff that people tell me. But since I've had my own stuff, it's kind of like I could see it being a possibility just because I've now had experiences about stuff. So for me, it's almost like I don't want to say that I believe everything, but at the same time, it's like a lot more easier to believe it since you've had your own experience to go along with it. It almost validates the things that people are saying.
I never had that problem. I to this day still haven't had a Bigfoot experience or a Dogman experience, but I believe in them wholeheartedly and 100% that they're real. Even before I talk to people who've seen Bigfoot or have dealt with Bigfoot, and before I was in all these groups on Facebook where people tell their experiences, I always, since I was a child, I believed in Bigfoot because it made sense. I was a smart kid, and it made sense. Gee, just because we can't prove an animal exists doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We didn't know gorillas existed until the 1950s, I think it was, when we finally proved that the natives in Africa were telling the truth about this giant man-like creature.
Yeah.
So I mean,
this is
just because we haven't proven something's true doesn't mean it's not true. I mean, that's the thesis right there for the paranormal.
This is what's funny about me. I actually have seen what people would consider a dog man, but I don't necessarily believe in dog man. So I've seen it, and yet I still try to write it off as something else because for my mind, it's like it shouldn't exist. So I just don't accept that it does.
I mean, not to turn this into my show even, but why do you think it can't exist? I mean, Anubis, the Rougarou, all these old mythological tales of talking dogs.
I bring that up too when I talk with people. Like I know the history, I know the lore, the werewolf trials and everything else. I'm actually filming a documentary about this stuff because where I'm at, there's been a lot of werewolf sightings. People call them werewolves. It's like nowadays they're called dogmen. There's been recent stuff. I've got footprints from a very large canine here recently. And then a lot of people say, oh, it's just bear. You saw a bear. Well,
footprints don't line up. No way.
It's not even the footprints. Like bears don't have big bushy tails. Dogs do.
Yeah. I mean, they have those little knob tails. That's about it.
Everyone wants to use the bear, like a bear with mange. And it pisses me off because
it does. Yeah, I get that.
I'm not stupid. Like I know what a bear looks like and I know what a canine looks like. And for me, everything looked like a large black wolf, if anything. Like it didn't have the hands or anything like that. It literally had paws. But it is just a normal looking dog, except it stood up like a human and walked off on two legs in a weird, funky way of walking off. But
there's a famous song. Well, not famous, but there's a well-known song in the paranormal community about a similar occurrence that someone saw. So, I mean, I believe it. I mean, God, go back to the Epic of Gilgamesh. His best friend Enkidu.
Yeah,
was either a dog man or a fucking Bigfoot. I don't care what anybody tells me.
One of my first episodes, I think it's episode 13, we actually talk about that. And Enkidu, the guy that I had talked to, he said that he 100% believed that it was a Bigfoot. Because the way it's described and everything else is like a wild man, a hairy man type creature. So to me, it sounds like a Bigfoot.
I mean, throughout mythology of all cultures, there's so many things that point to these creatures possibly being real. I mean, do I believe like they said in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, like about fae and fairies and that whole realm? I mean, yeah, to some degree I can believe it because I've heard enough experiences, but that's less believable than the fact that there could be bigger creatures out there than us that could literally destroy us if they wanted to, if they could organize. So, I mean, it's I don't know.
I struggle with it because if they're a flesh and blood type thing, then why are there no bodies and where's the evidence at? At some point, someone's going to run one over, or there should be a dead one somewhere. Someone shot one. So,
Bigfoot had been shot and buried by humans. And then they go back to show their friends and the body disappeared, which means either the Bigfoot are smart enough to bury their own and to hide the bodies from where humans could find them, or B, they're ultra-terrestrial, and when they die, the body goes back to the dimension they're from.
See, I'm friends with someone that is a very big flesh and blood type of a Bigfoot, and the whole woo side to it and everything else, like I would probably lean more that way. But I hear both sides of it, and then you got these people that want to believe that there's just an undiscovered primate, and I do not necessarily believe it's an undiscovered primate. I used to. But there's too many weird instances that happen. But then you find out where the person who originally started all of the weird stuff and the paranormal aspect to it beforehand, there was never any of that. But I'm not saying it's not possible because people are experiencing something. So what I actually lean towards is, what if Bigfoot is just something that we've manifested and becomes whatever we keep thinking? Because it takes the shape of whatever is the popular belief among itself, almost like an egregore.
Yeah, like Gollum, freaking, my God,
A tulpa.
I guess like a Gollum kind of, but
It's like a tulpa and egregore.
Tulpa. That's the word I'm trying to come to mind here.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, see, you're not the first person to bring the manifestation theory up with Bigfoot to me, and I hate it. I don't want to think it has any relevant possibility, but I'm not naive enough to believe it doesn't have possibility. I hate it because I mean, I was like you. I started off flesh and blood for a long time. The Gigantopithecus theory was my theory. I freaking loved it, and I thought it was 100% accurate. But then people on my show really started pushing the ultra-terrestrial theory on me, and I was like, I don't know, but then I formed my own theory because, I do. Well, I keep saying I want to write a book of all my theories and publish it. I think it would be a bestseller in the paranormal community 100%. But because my theories are elaborate and freaking insane sometimes, but they make sense. And that's why they're my theories. But the ultra-terrestrial thing I got thinking on, and I'm like, what if Bigfoot ultra-terrestrial? What if that's their origin story? They're all terrestrial to begin with. What if some of them had been on Earth so long that their spirits, or I guess their souls, kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of shifted? And what if there became a clan, kind of a clan or a breed of Earth Bigfoots that are what Patterson Gimlin filmed? And what if there are, because I mean, everybody knows there's multiple different species of Bigfoot technically that we know about, supposedly. And what if not all of them are ultra-terrestrial? What if some of them are, what if it's a mix? What if we have ultra-terrestrials, we have extraterrestrials, and we have earthbound ones? Who knows? Maybe this is an intelligent race that freaking spread out through the galaxy and through the dimensions before humans were a thing even, and the ones that got left on Earth were the stupider ones. Who knows? I mean,
at this point, everything I'm not going to say is right or wrong because I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. It's all just kind of a guessing game. But
we, as I say on my show constantly, we don't know, and that's the point of this: is we don't know. If we knew, we wouldn't be talking about it as much because we would already know the answer.
I always tell people if there's ever someone that comes up and tells you they're an expert in any of this stuff, to take it with a grain of salt because there's no experts because there's hardly any proof of anything. So,
well, I like to say I'm an expert in the fact that I don't know shit. That's basically it. And And there is proof, though. It's just because I was talking to Leslie and Stephen Shaw, UFO experts. I don't know if you know them by name, but
yeah, they've been on my show a year or so ago.
The same. They did their rounds about a year ago when his book was coming out, but they were telling me about this scientist in California or Oregon, somewhere around there, and she has samples of a urine from a lake where she was testing for different species urines in a lake for some reason. I don't know. I guess for a population type thing, but there's a primate urine in that lake that cannot be identified, and she also has hair that cannot be identified to any known creature. I mean, she has two big things of proof, and she's trying to get somebody in the government to let her actually publish something. Because that's one reason that we don't admit that Bigfoot's real is the government won't let them. The government freaking knows. Nobody's gonna tell me I'm wrong on that. The government knows. Teddy Roosevelt freaking had it dealing with a Bigfoot, for God's sake. The government knows.
I think that if they are real, the government does know indeed, because I think there's a reason that they don't want people to know. And I know a lot of people toss out the whole notion of it will uproot everything, like the park systems, like logging, all sorts of stuff, wildlife protections, all sorts of different type of endangered species acts. I think there's more to it than that. I don't think it's just that. I think there's a lot more to it than that. And I think it's because, again, if these things are real, and like what you're saying is if they are from a different plane of existence, like a different reality, a different dimension, that's part of the reason why they don't want anyone to know, because then that kind of confirms some other things away that they're not ready for yet. Like basically your whole aspect on religion has to shift. And I think that's where the struggles come from.
100%. I mean, the governments have been controlled by religion, as any listener of my show will know. I hate organized religion with a passion. I have nothing against people who are religious or spiritual. I have nothing against you. But organized religions, I hate the heads of them with a passion, because they've been controlling governments for millennia. And that is the reason we don't know everything we should know as humans. I mean, I always say, if the zombie apocalypse happens, I am going to the freaking Vatican basement, and I will be staying there until I die, reading things that I've been waiting my whole life to find out are true. So it's just the way it's got to be. One of my co-hosts from my previous show, actually, we do a Winchester Wednesday special on my show now, but well, it releases on Wednesdays. We don't record on Wednesdays, but basically, like he says, like it was our idea together. Like if zombie apocalypse happens, we're getting our families and we're all going to the Vatican. Because ain't nothing getting in there, and we'd have a lifetime of reading about all the things we talk about and how they really exist.
You'd have to get all the way to the Vatican, though.
Get a damn boat. I'm fine with that. Get me a damn boat. I'll sail.
Years back, me and my friend actually had a prepper plan. Not so much we prepped anything, but we used to work at a warehouse. And we already had a plan of how we were going to fortify this warehouse, because we had all these metal racking things. So we're going to fortify everything with the racks. We had the keys of the big box trucks. We had all sorts of stuff there. And we had tons of packing peanuts that were made from cornstarch, and they were edible. I was like, well, we've got so many of these, we can survive on cornstarch packing peanuts for several years. But
would you want to survive like that is the question. But
no, but in worst case scenario, that was our battle plan.
I mean, if it's eat the damn packet peanuts or eat each other, at that point you gotta be like, all right, goddamn peanuts. But I don't know. I mean, there's so much in this world we don't know. It's scary. I mean, and look at how long it took them to admit that UFOs are real. From what, 1942 in Roswell till 2020, and that. So literally 58 years, actually not 58 years, what the hell am I saying? Like 68 years, 78 years it took them to.
Basically 70 years almost.
Like they didn't want to admit, oh, it's a weather balloon. Yeah, my ass, it's a weather balloon. I've talked to people who have chunks of the Roswell saucer, and they showed me the pieces. They don't look like normal metal up down on Earth, for God's sake. I mean, it's... No, I've seen the proof. Like, Roswell really happened. I don't care who says it didn't. Roswell happened. There are so much proof there's been experts on my show on extraterrestrial life, and if you listen to those episodes, it doesn't convince you, then I don't know what you need. Because unless you want one to come shake your hand.
No, I definitely think something happened at Roswell. I never believed that. I thought this is where I struggle with Roswell. Why did they say that a UFO crashed and the next day they retract the statement? They allowed it to go out the first time. But they didn't say UFO, they called it a flying saucer because that was what the term was that was being pushed out there because of Kenneth Arnold a few months prior. Or not even a few, I think it was a few weeks prior. So they used the term that they got a flying saucer, but no one ever really said that this thing was a saucer. There's just pieces. So who even knows what it actually looked like? But
well, I mean, that's what the initial farmer who found it said it looked like it was a flying saucer too.
Right.
And I mean, I've known people who I tried to get him on my show, but I couldn't, like, he just wasn't responding to me, even though he was on a lot of my friends' podcasts. So I'm like, what the hell? But the grandson of the original farmer from Roswell, he's made his rounds on a few podcasts people I'm friends with, and I'm just like, I was trying to get him on my show so bad, but I think he stopped guessing at that point. I don't know if he was getting threatened or what, but I mean,
I actually had someone in contact with Jesse Marcel's grandson, and I never did get a follow-up with it, so I don't know whatever happened with that. I probably should actually try and get him on. My thing is, like, he's the grandson of the guy that was holding the stuff in the photo, but at the same time, like, he wasn't around at that point. His grandfather's been dead for 30-something years. His dad's been dead. Like, how much do they really know at this point? Or are they just going to make the rounds because they want to talk about stuff to be popular?
I mean, or maybe their granddaddy did tell them stuff when they were young about what happened.
No.
Grandfathers like to talk to their grandsons about stuff they don't talk to anybody else about. Trust me. I mean, my grandfather told me things about he experienced in World War II that he didn't tell anybody about until me and my brother came along. So, I mean, it's secrets sometimes pass down when you're a grandparent because you don't got much longer to live, and you know it, and you don't give a shit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just it's. And I actually had a UFO experience. I should say that finally, because down that house in the Bridgewater Triangle, me and the then girlfriend, now wife, and her kids were going in the house in the backyard at night. It was getting pretty dark out, and we're on the back porch, and my stepson says to me, he's like, "Hey, Dad, why are those stars moving?" And I'm like, looking up, I'm like, "Stars don't move. What the fuck are you talking about?" Oh, yeah, 7 or 8 not star size, but star-looking things moving in formation through the sky. Like, you can't see stars move with your blind eye. So they were actually moving at the speed the blind eye can tell they're moving. And they were all moving in the same direction in formation, like in a straight line, basically. And it looked like 7 or 8 UFOs from what I could tell. And, like, I was just like, I got my kids back inside just in case. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're doing up there. I don't want to know. Let's just get inside. But if I had a telescope, I would have got out and looked, but I didn't. And, I mean, the area I live in now is a huge UFO hotspot. And you stand in my backyard at night walking the dogs, and, like, while they're going to the bathroom, I'm looking up the sky, and there are definitely some things out there that don't look like stars, don't look like planes, don't look like anything we know of.
Did you guys have a bunch of the drones that were out last
No,
month?
we did. I mean, only my neighbor's drone, and I haven't seen that in a while either. But
we had drones here. There's been drones all over the place. Again, I guess just yesterday, someone I know saw something again right by the Indiana-Ohio line. And they're not like small drones. They're actually pretty large drones. Some people said they've been like almost 20 foot. So that's a pretty big drone.
I feel like the drone thing is more government related.
That's what I was leaning at too. Is I don't think they're anything other than our own personal stuff out here.
I mean, I feel like maybe it's the government lining up for all these deportations and trying to, like, get information through drones. Like, maybe, I don't know. That's just one thought that came in my head today when I was watching the news. But because they talked about the drones today and they talked about the deportation thing, so I'm like, maybe two of these things are connected. But I don't know. I am not privy to what the government does, and nor do I really want to be.
I try not to pay much attention at this point because everything's a big shit show in general.
Oh, it is. I don't even like watching the news. Just happened to be at a waiting room at a doctor's office, and there was nothing else. I didn't have the remote, so I couldn't do anything about it.
When the news is on, I don't believe it anyways. So
I believe they're lying. That's all I ever believe.
Yeah.
They're lying to me somehow.
The only thing it's all doom and gloom. The only thing they put out there is what they want you to believe into, and it's never anything good. Very rarely do you see any good things happening on the news. So they want you to think the whole world's gone to hell in a handbasket for some strange reason.
100%. I mean, it's creepy. It really is creepy, but I don't know what to believe anymore. I really don't. It's just, I don't know.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to discuss? If not, we can probably wrap this one up. There's a few things that I was trying to do tonight before I have to get up and go to work in the morning, but wanted to make sure we got able to get on here and talk.
Well, actually, yes. One of my favorite topics, and I always love to get opinions on from people who are well-versed in paranormal. What is your theory on living dinosaurs?
I wish 100% that they were real. And I have some in my backyard if you believe that chickens are dinosaurs, because a lot of people say they've descended from that. But I know in Australia there's been stories of what people consider like raptors. And then there's Makela Mbembe in the Congo. I would not be surprised if there's not somewhere in the vastness of a jungle or even underwater that there's some sort of relic, because they thought the coelacanth was extinct, and here it is still alive after 90 million years or whatever. So I could see something like that still existing, but.
And there's a tribe in Peru that worships raptor-like creatures that live in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, let's not forget thunderbirds.
Yeah,
they're just pterodactyls.
There's actually some in New Guinea that people have reported seeing, and I've seen videos, and I was like, it looks like it's just a bird to me, but they think they're pterodactyls. They're like,
I mean,
fairly large. Like, who knows? Who knows what's out in those damn jungles?
I'm a proponent of hollow Earth theory, and I mean not flat Earth. I not say flat Earth, fuck flat Earthers, but I'm a proponent of hollow Earth theory. Basically, the idea of what came out of, I mean, it's been around for a long time. But basically, the whole, like, during the center of the Earth, land of the lost, Kong Skull Island type of idea of like cave systems throughout Earth. I'm a proponent of that. I mean, Native Americans went on these spirit quests through the caves in North America, and they're the only ones who ever went all the way through that were human. And who knows what's down there? Maybe that will explain 99% of the cryptids we have on Earth, and maybe that explains where they live. I've heard stories of dragons in mines in Pennsylvania. If you look at the map of all these cave systems, the missing 4 and 1 dots are all right above these cave systems. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the hollow Earth system, and I think that explains living dinosaurs to some degree. Because I think they have a place to travel through and hide.
I've mentioned this before, and this will be the hill that I die on. The movie The Descent, are you familiar with it? It came out about 20 years ago.
I know of it. I can't say I've ever actually watched it, but I know of it.
They went into a cave system. Sorry if you don't want to be spoiled, audience, you can skip now. But they went into a cave system, and they come across these pale humanoid that lived in the caves. Yeah. And for me, it was like pale crawlers and what people call rakes. I was like, well, that's basically based off the pale crawlers. And then even in the Native Americans that called them Wendigos, they're different, but if the descriptions of the original Wendigo was a pale humanoid person, it's more of a spiritual thing. But let's just take all the spirit aspect out of it. What if the things that people are seeing are all the same things, like your Dover demon, look like a pale crawler, your pale crawlers, your Wendigos, like all these other things. And if you look at the areas that they're usually spotted in, it usually is somewhere around caves. You have your Kentucky goblins around the cave systems. Like, all these things still start to point around to the possibility that things are coming from the cave system. And you mentioned the 411. I've said this before. Like if you look on, you take that map, you look at your map of cryptid sightings, you look at your map of UFO sightings, they all line up where people go missing is around the cave systems where all these random cryptid sightings are too.
Yep, 100%. I mean, that's why. I mean, I believe it's all related. I truly do. I mean, I was watching a missing 411 documentary, and I kind of just like put it all together in my head like 10 years ago. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, if A connects to B and B connects to C and C connects to E, holy shit, yes. I'm like, this explains it all. I'm like, cave systems. And then I heard Hollow Earth theory a couple years later, and I'm like, oh, that even adds to it. I'm like, Hollow Earth, yeah. I'm like, why wouldn't it be? I mean, why is there so much literature about people trying to get to the center of the Earth? It's obviously it's all based on some theory or idea. It's not just random people are not going to come up with that idea of a story over and over again. Like, let's go to the center of the Earth because it's all magma. We're going to die and burn to death. Let's go.
Right.
Like, no, there has to be some basis on this theory. I mean, where the hell did they even come up with the idea for a journey to the center of the Earth, the original? Like, where did H.G. Wells come up with it?
There's a story of Admiral Byrd where he supposedly flew, I think it was over Antarctica, and he saw this opening that took him down there, and like he's seen stuff flying out of it. Again, they claim that's not true, but they claim a lot of shit's not true. But
on my conspiracy bracket on my show, Antarctica Secret Base is one of the options for that reason. Because there's Antarctica's, there's something there. There's something. Why are regular citizens of any country not allowed on it?
that's what I said, and then people tell me, like, well, you can sail down there. I was like, yeah, you can. You can take a cruise if you got the money, but you still can't go anywhere down there. And they're like, well, there's nowhere to go to. I was like, you still have to have an actual permission from your government to actually go there. Like, yes, they take cruises around Antarctica, but you're not getting off at Antarctica and you don't see anything. You're just flying around, you're sailing around the coast of it in certain spots.
I mean, you could get out there if you want. If you want to get shot, then go ahead. But I mean, I don't want to get shot. So I mean, there's armed guards in Antarctica. There's been pictures of them. So
it just doesn't make sense as to why the world can't get along or agree on anything, but they all signed this treaty to leave Antarctica alone. That to me is the biggest red herring I've seen.
I believe it was signed, actually. There was a conference, the Vienna conference after World War II. I was told that by a woman whose father was in the military during that time, that there were a lot of different extraterrestrial species present at that conference. But they all came in with their human escorts, and they were in disguises until they got in the building. And that building was shut off to the public that day.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh my God. I forget the name of the guest or the name of the episode completely, but the title of that episode has something to do with raptors in World War II. So
I'll look into it.
If you want to listen to a good episode, oh my God, I literally went speechless for a good 2 minutes in that show, or I just couldn't think of anything to say. I was just jaw dropped speechless if you watch the video on YouTube. Like, I was just beyond most shocked I've ever been in my life, like, on that show. And I believe every word this woman was saying, because I could see in her eyes she believed herself. So, and she seemed very intelligent. So I believe everything she was saying. The military hides a lot of things, so I wouldn't doubt a lot of it.
No, I understand part of the reason why things aren't put out there. I don't think we need to know every little thing that goes on. I don't think our minds are capable of that. And I don't honestly think, I come off as a hypocrite sometimes. I think taxation is theft, but at the same time, I understand the point of what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, we need roads, we need bridges, we need to pay for kids to go to school, we need to pay for, like, I understand the point of all of that stuff, but it still pisses me off when I see how much money goes to the government.
Oh, trust me. Every time my bosses ask me, well, how'd you like that quarter bonus? How'd you like that year-end bonus? I'm like, it was great. Before taxes took a quarter of it.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, it's horrible. Taxes are freaking horrible. I mean, you paid a lot of money for this house, like a couple $100,000, but we still got to tax you for the land, $4,000 to $5,000 every year at least.
Yeah. Even though it's completely paid off, you're still going to have to pay your property taxes. Otherwise, we're going to take it from you.
and your school tax if you live in one of those areas. Thankfully, I don't, but
Yeah, there's always something, but
it's just, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I mean, eventually, I think a lot of the answers. I've been told the next 7 years are going to be interesting, and I'm kind of dying to see what happens. So,
I know, and I don't want to say it because it'll get me in trouble, especially with certain filters, but there is a quote unquote event happening in the next couple of years that will be eye opening for a lot of people, and a lot of things out there are claiming that might not happen now because people are talking about it. I was like, or it was all bullshit.
it'll happen. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen
Mhm.
one way or another.
2027 was the year that it's supposed to happen.
Yep.
So
I've heard that too.
So we've
I've
still
heard
got
that too.
we've got 2 years to go. So we'll see.
And there's some actual competent people in the politics now, so maybe it'll happen actually and be right. But we'll see.
We can probably wrap this one up. Before we do, though, let everyone know the name of your show and where they can find you.
Of course, Jeremy brings up politics and the show gets wrapped. I don't like to talk politics anyway. But yes, I mean, if you want to hear more of my theories or other crazy things I like to say, check out Paranormal the New Normal. 3 years worth of episodes free to watch, listen to. I am usually put up live by a guy on Facebook named Squatchy Largefoot. I don't know who or what this creature is. He swears he's a Bigfoot that was evolved by Arcturians. What can I say tonight? But by some Greys and Arcturians. There we go. And he swears his elders taught him to speak English. So he likes to post about my podcast and put it out live on Facebook. So Squatchy Largefoot, go check it out. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as @DrunkenLittleBastard. And you can find me on YouTube as either Maniacal Music Musings or Paranormal the New Normal. All episodes are on there, video form, so check them out. A lot to watch, a lot of very interesting guests, so go check it out.
Yeah, if you send me a link to your stuff in my email, I'll put it in the show notes for anyone listening. But
I can do that.
Well, Jeremy, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been a pleasure too, brother. It's anytime, and you're always welcome to come on my show for an episode 2 if you want. So
I might take you up on that. If you'd like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Make sure to follow me around on all the social medias. And just remember, truth comes at a cost. Are you willing to pay the price?
I heard a story late last night about something lurking along the wood line. Huge footprints, strange lights in the sky. They claim it's nothing, but I know they lie. It's easier to laugh in my face, but something about this makes me say, what if it's real? What if they knew? What if the answers are coming from you? Spinning stories, wasting my time, hearing voices, is it all in their minds? They can call me crazy, but I just want some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil Tales, pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They see a dog man walking, or maybe a mothman flies above the buried giants, hidden beneath the lies. They say it's just stories, it's all make-believe. Fairy tales for the things we can't perceive. They want to keep us blinded, they want to break our will. But I'm not buying it, I'm not swallowing another pill. Force-fed poison, the lies we're made to believe. What if the truth could set us free? Alien signals traveling through time, secret space programs erasing their minds. They call them crazy, but I just need some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not we knew. Tinfoil tales pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They laugh, they lie, we all could die, but the signs are there if you open your eyes. Aliens, cryptids, demons, ghosts, the Nephilim too. What if it's me? Or what if it's real? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil tales pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. It's all in our heads, it's all in our minds. These voices can't be silenced, the truth must rise. Tinfoil tales, it's pulling me through. What if it's real? What if it's true?